So hello and welcome again. I'm Frederick Dunn and this is The Way to Be. Today we're fiddling around with swarms. Why? Because it's the first week of July and it's fun to reinforce colonies that might not be doing well with swarms that we find, and it's late in the season to be starting an entirely new colony, so why don't we just beef up the existing colonies that aren't working so well. That's hive number 1. We just did a swarm reinforcement for them and they are restored to full activity. So now we jump ahead and I want to show you some fun ways to control swarms. Look at this. This is a one-handed queen catcher. What's inside? A queen that I caught from a swarm that I just collected off of a spruce tree branch. Look at her. She's walking around in there. Now I collected her and took her away from the box that I put in front of the hive that I want the bees to go into, and we're just going to have some fun. And I'm going to explain how I influence these bees. So what I did is I reached in, I scooped up handfuls of these bees, and I put them on the landing board of this Lyson insulated beehive, which is a nucleus hive, 6 frames per level. And so this colony has 18 frames now. I added a third box to it because I'm going to beef up their numbers. Look what's going on here. I took their queen away in my one-handed queen catcher, and I put her inside another building so their pheromone, her pheromone, would not interfere with what I'm doing here. So I wanted to find out, do they have a queen in here? I couldn't find her. I probably should have shown that part. In fact, in the next hive reinforcement that we do, the colony reinforcement, I will show you the indications that our queen is either severely lacking or missing altogether. And we find that when we see that there's no brood and that we can't find the queen, and I mean brood of all ages, no eggs, no open larvae, no pupa, period. And this is critical. We have to reinforce this colony with a queen, because if we don't do that, they'll start to produce laying workers. So we're at the 3rd week that this colony has not produced what we need them to do, and I marked the queen in here. I didn't do a very good job. You can notice that when you see her. Now the other thing that's interesting, take our cues from the fact that while we're marking this queen, by the way, the workers are leaving her. So they're getting out of the one-handed queen catcher. That's the paint that I used, just in case somebody wanted to know. Look, I got paint on a little bit of her leg, on her neck. The good news is I didn't cover her eyes, her ocella, her antennae. Those are all critical things, but she's marked and she's in there. And bit by bit, these workers are abandoning her. Their job is to attend, feed, protect, take care of the queen. She's the future of the hive. And this is the hive, the Lyson insulated hive. 6 deep frames, 3 deep levels. And we're going to beef this up. And I decided, instead of putting this Colorado beevac box on top of the hive, we'll just put it right in front. And I was successful in getting bees to go in. They're fanning their pheromones. They are occupying the hive. There is an old vial of Swarm Commander in there that I removed, by the way, when I put the 3rd level on, because prior to this, it was just 2 levels, which is 12 deep frames. Now that can handle, that's more than a single deep standard Langstroth 10 frame brood box, so we've got lots of room in here, and we can play with them. So my thinking was, I caught the queen. Now how did I find her? That's the other thing. Fred, did you probe around in there? Did you look for her? No, she just showed up on the surface, and when I noticed her, I collected her in my one-handed queen catcher. So when you're doing swarm installs, always have queen clips with you, or queen catchers, or queen cages, whatever you want to do. We could have put in a deep frame inside a queen introduction cage, or even a queen isolation cage, and kept her that way. And that would keep them from moving on. But this is a fun time of year. I've said it before, I'll say it again, too many bees this year, so we can have time to play. If they changed their minds and flew away, it would not be the end of the world. And also, I just want to see how much impact it has on them when they do have the queen or they don't. They're kind of searching around, but if you look, the group seems divided. I do have influences on the landing board here, fanning the nasin off, getting the other bees to go in, but remember, how did I kick that off? Scoop them up in my hand, and I put them at the entrance, and because they have the option, an entrance to a hive that already has comb resources inside, or this box, which is part of a Colorado bee vac. It is the size of a 10 frame deep, and so cavity or open space. Well, they walked right in. Now I can't say that they're drawn in because of some existing pheromone other than the old and weak swarm commander, but here's what I'm going to do. Bring this queen. Look how angsty she is. She is like really scooting around in there. She is not happy to be in this. And the bees do go to her, and I'm going to open it up. Now she has a choice. I left a space here. She can walk in, watch for the green dot, or she can fly away. But she chose to go right in. Problem solved. Queen installed. So that little queen zipped in there, and it had an immediate effect on the bees in the swarm collection box. Now there's more bees fanning their Nasanov gland than ever before, and letting every other bee in the vicinity know that there is a queen here. Come and join up. Do you think that's the end of the story? Do you think we're settled? Did I figure it out? Did I beat him at a game of wits and collect the queen? So she's marked, but I want you to think about the queen that I put in there. She was pretty little. She was pretty skinny. Not only that, look how readily the workers that were with her actually departed that single-handed queen catcher, which is designed for marking the queens. And it was open enough that workers can get out, but the queen can't. And the workers certainly did get out, because in the end, after about an hour of being away from the swarm in the box, she had no more attendants with her, so they didn't stick it out. That should be a wake-up call. Maybe she's not mated. Maybe she's a virgin. And if she's a virgin queen, would I expect to find a swarm of this size and quality surrounding her? No. Normally we wouldn't. This is virgin queens. You would find small clusters around them, not a big full-scale group like this who's ready to reinforce a Lyson hive and make sure that they produce honey the first year, because we're just in the first week of July. We're ahead of the game. If we're beefing up existing colonies, I think you're still going to expect a honey yield, a surplus honey yield. So we got the queen. We marked her. She's in. Everything's good to go. Let's slow things down. See what's going on. Always slow things down if you can. Watch the landing board, see what the bee behavior is. If you'll notice, I pulled the box away because there were just a couple of handfuls of bees left in it, so I leaned it on the fence, which is right in front of this hive. This hive faces south, and the box is off to the right, leaning on the fence now, and I'm just letting the rest of the bees fly out of it and join this landing board and join the Lyson hive, right? Well, here's where I made my mistake. Watch closely. Look at the lower left corner of this frame. Who's walking in? The real queen. So the queen, much larger, healthier, fuller abdomen, probably in lay, is now flying out of the box and just joining this hive. I missed her completely. So I've got a painted queen in there who's probably unmated. She was uncooperative and super squirrely and trying to go everywhere at once. She can still fly away if she wants to, but I'll tell you what, the real queen is in there now, and we're going to get real eggs from her right away, and the rest of the bees emptied that box. So, that was a plot twist. When you think you know what's going on with your bees, even when you think you got that queen, in the middle of that swarm, which was clustered on a spruce tree, you may have more than one queen in the swarm, and all my attention went to the little one that I saw first, and I should have taken some cues from her behavior. Larger, older, heavier, in full production queens move slower. They don't fight you the way the other one did in that one-handed queen catcher. And lesson learned. The good news is she left the box that was leaning on the fence. She flew in and she joined this colony. So the other thing is I influence these bees early on by scooping handfuls to overwhelm the existing colony of bees that's inside, but they were in a state, I don't know what you would call it, but they are just dwindling because they can't produce any new stock. They can't produce any new workers because they were missing their queen. Queen losses are a trend right now in my neck of the woods among other beekeepers. So this is a time of year, if we really want to salvage our bees, pay attention to the colonies that seem to be not in full production. Learn to spot queens. I guess I've demonstrated here that I really can spot queens well. Got the little one, the one that didn't matter, and marked her. Meanwhile, the real queen decided to join on her own, and now she's in there unmarked. So, in subsequent inspections, when should I look into this hive again? In a couple of weeks, so give them 14 days, and then we'll look in there and we should see a brood of all stages. And I should see an unmarked queen in there. Now, another thing that could happen is that young virgin queen, I'm assuming she's virgin, she could fly out, get mated, come back to the same hive, and then this hive could generate another tiny swarm, which would not be great considering we're trying to salvage the population and keep the workforce strong. But if that happened, then we would see the queen with the dot, the painted thorax, and the older queen again would have swarmed out. So we'll do a follow-up on that in 2 weeks. Mark your calendar and check back. Thanks for watching. That was a plot twist. Always look for more than one queen in a swarm. Mark them if you can. I'm Frederick Dunn, and this has been The Way to Bee.